Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, please. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining this morning. Shrimad class and attentive chapter. We'll make a start on today's reading. So we'll be talking about Kapil Muni and Devhuti. Sankhya Yoga. Devhuti was explained by Kapil Muni, her son, about liberation, about devotional service. And now today, they're discussing material nature. So he's just weighing everything up and trying to explain to his mother. So he starts with the personality of God that Kapil continued. When the living entity is thus unaffected by the modes of material nature, because he's unchanging and does not claim proprietorship, he remains apart from the reactions of the modes, although abiding in a material body, just as the sun remains aloof from its reflection on water. So Prabhupada explains that in the previous chapter, Lord Kapil Dev has concluded that simply by beginning the discharge of devotion service, one can attain detachment and transcendental knowledge. For understanding the science of God, here the same principle is confirmed. A person who is detached from the modes of material nature remains just like the sun reflected on water. When the sun is reflected on water, the movement of the water or the coolness or unsteadiness of the water cannot affect the sun. Similarly, when one engages fully in the activities of devotional service, bhakti yoga, he becomes just like the sun reflected on water. So although we are living in the world, we're not of it. We are separated from it, just like the sun is separated from the water, or is only working through his rays. Although a devotee appears to be in the material world, actually he is in the transcendental world. As the reflection of the sun appears to be on the water, but is many millions of miles away from the water. So one engaged in the bhakti yoga process is nirgun, or unaffected by the qualities of material nature. That is the difference. Although we seem to be living in the material world, doing everything, but we're totally detached from those processes. When one does something at his own risk, there is a sense of proprietorship and therefore a reaction. But when one does everything for Krishna, there is no proprietorship over the activities. By changelessness and by not claiming the proprietorship of activities, one can immediately situate himself in the transcendental position in which one is not touched by the modes of material nature, just as the reflection of the sun is unaffected by the water. So that is the difference. Let's do a prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukham Kroti Vachanam Pangum Langyate Girim Yat Kirpatamam Mande Shri Guru Dil Taranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram Hari Om Tassat Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiriyat Nasta Prayeshu Abadireshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nishtiki. Hare Krishna. And then Kapil Muni continues to say, when the soul is under the spell of material nature, now he's talking about the material nature and false ego, identifying his body as the self, he becomes absorbed in material activities. And by the influence of false ego, he thinks that he is the proprietor of everything. So this is a person who is attached. Before he's explaining about the person who's not attached. Now he's explaining the person who is attached to material activities. Actually, the conditioned soul is forced to act under the pressure of the modes of material nature. So if you are attached to the material activities, then the three modes of nature are working with you, or you're working with those three modes. The living entity has no independence. So you're totally relying on the three modes. When he is under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is free. But when under the impression that he's satisfying his senses, he engages in sense gratificatory activities, he is actually in the spell of material nature. In Bhagavad-Gita, it is said, Prakriti Kriya Manani, one acts according to the particular modes of nature he has acquired. Guna refers to the quality of nature. He's under the qualities of nature, but he falsely thinks that he is the proprietor. This false sense of proprietorship can be avoided simply by engaging oneself in devotional service under the direction of the Supreme Lord or his bona fide representative. So Arjuna Bhagavad Gita was trying to accept for himself the responsibility for killing his grandfather and teacher in the fight. So here's an example, but he becomes freed from the proprietorship of action when he acted under the direction of Krishna. So when you're using your own notions, then you are working through the three modes. But if you go through Krishna's instructions, Prabhupada's instructions, then you're not affected by any modes. It's all transcendental. He fought, but when he was actually freed from the direction of fighting, although in the beginning, when he was non-violent, unwilling to fight, the entire responsibility was upon him. That is the difference between liberation and conditioning. A conditioned soul may be very good and act in the mode of goodness, but still he is conditioned under the spell of material nature, because even mode of goodness is material nature. A devotee, however, acts completely under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Thus, his actions may not appear to be very high quality to the common man, but the devotee has no responsibility because he's totally relying on the word of God, his instructions. The conditioned soul, therefore, transmigrates into different species of life, higher and lower, because of its association with the modes of material nature. So this is the result of associating with material nature. We're always transmigrating in the cycle of birth and death into different species, according to which mode we associate with. That's the kind of species we are likely to be in the next life. So unless he's relieved of material activities, he has to accept this position because of his faulty work. This refers to any activity, good or bad, performed in this material world. They are all contaminated. Faulty actions because of material association. The foolish conditioned soul may think that he is offering charity by opening hospitals for material benefit, or by opening an educational institution for material education. But he does not know that all such work is also faulty, because it will not give him relief from the process of transmigration from one body to another. So although all these jobs are good, all this charitable work is good, but what we try to achieve, it does not, cannot produce the result of getting out of this life and birth and death. It does not, it's for a different purpose. It will only take you to Swarglok. That's far as these things work. If you want to go to the heavenly planets, then this is the process. If you want to go to Krishna Loka, then you have to become transcendental. and do spiritual activities. That is the difference. They cannot, these processes cannot take you any further than Swargalok. This means that one may take birth in a very high family, or he may take his birth in higher planets among the demigods. So that's Swargalok, for his so-called pious activities in the material world. But this work is also faulty because it does not give liberation. So you still have to come back after being in Swargalok. Once you exhausted your pious points, you come back again, restart. To take birth in a nice place or a high family does not mean that one avoids undergoing the material tribulations, the pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease. A conditioned soul under the spell of material nature cannot understand that any action he performs for sense gratification is faulty, and that only his activities in devotional service to the Lord can give him release from the reaction of faulty activities. Because he does not cease such faulty activities, he has to change to different bodies, some high and some low, according to the activities. So, and then Kapil Muni continues, says, actually, a living entity is transcendental to material existence. But because of his mentality of loading it over material nature, his material existential condition does not cease. And just as in a dream, he is affected by all sorts of disadvantages. So Prabhupada gives an example of a dream is very appropriate. It says here, due to different mental conditions, in dreams we are put into advantageous and disadvantageous positions. Similarly, the spirit soul has nothing to do with his material nature, but because of his mentality of loading it over, he is put into the position of conditional existence. So as long as one continues to think that he can enjoy material advantages, he is conditioned life, he is in conditioned life. But soon as he comes to his senses, he develops a knowledge that he is not the enjoyer, for the only enjoyer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as confirmed in Bhagavad-Gita, he is the beneficiary for all the results of sacrifices and penances. Bhaktaram Yagya Tapasam. And he is the proprietor of all the three worlds, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. He is the actual friend of all living entities, but instead of leaving proprietorship, enjoyment, and the actual position as the friend of all living entities to the Supreme Person of Godhead, we claim that we are the proprietors, the enjoyers, and the friends. We think we are, by helping people, by helping everyone, we are their friends. We perform philanthropic work thinking that we are the friends of human society. Someone may claim himself to be a very good national worker, the best friend of the people and the country. But actually, he cannot be the greatest friend of everyone. We can't be greatest of anything. Greatest only Krishna can be. So we cannot be the greatest friend. The only friend is Krishna. One should try to raise the consciousness of the conditioned soul to the platform of understanding that Krishna is his actual friend. So this is our duty. We try to do the tasks of Krishna, but we actually should bring everyone to Krishna. That is our task. At least this is what Prabhupada is saying. If one makes friendship with Krishna, one will never be cheated and he will get all help needed. Arousing this consciousness of the conditioned soul is the greatest service, not posing himself as a great friend of another living entity. The power of friendship is limited. Although one claims to be a friend, he cannot be a friend unlimitedly. So the only person who can be a friend unlimitedly is Krishna. So instead of us trying to be a friend of the people, get them in touch with Krishna so they can have a friend who is unlimited friend. That's the best gift you can give somebody. Give them an unlimited friend who can give them everything. There are an unlimited number of living entities and our resources are limited. Therefore, we cannot be of any real benefit to the people in general. So again, it's telling us that don't try to be Krishna. Let Krishna help them. So introduce them to Krishna so he can help them. The best service to the people in general is to awaken them to Krishna consciousness so that they may know that the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend is Krishna. Then this illusion, loading it over material nature will vanish. So this is amazing. So two things happening here. One, we are introducing Krishna to the people, so they have a friend that they can turn to in time of trouble and in time to get liberation. At the same time, our mentality that, oh, we can do what Krishna can do also disappears. So it's really good. And then Kapil Muni continues to say, it is the duty of every conditioned soul to engage his polluted consciousness, which is now attached to material enjoyment, in very serious devotional service with detachment. Thus, his mind and consciousness will be under full control. So when we're doing service, it should be, when we're saying that, it should be detached, like is explained earlier on. In fact, there's example like a dried coconut inside a dried skin. So it seems like that the coconut inside is part of the skin, outer skin, but actually it can become detached as well. And like when you rock it, you can hear it inside. It's like that. So although we're living in the material world, which is like the outer skin of a coconut, but we are not attached to it. The cause of one's becoming conditioned by material nature is his thinking himself the enjoyer, the proprietor, or the friend of living entities. This forced thinking is a result of contemplation on sense enjoyment. So we actually enjoy being the proprietor, the enjoyer, and the friend of living entities. But that's, we're doing this for our own sense benefit. When one thinks that he is the best friend to his countrymen, to society, or to humanity, and he engages in various nationalistic, philanthropic, and altruistic activities, all that is just so much concentration on sense gratification. So this is Sri Prabhupada's conclusion, that we're doing it for our own senses, because we start thinking how great we are, what great work we're doing. So we are actually trying to enjoy our senses. The so-called national leader or humanist does not serve everyone. He serves his senses only. That is a fact. But the conditioned soul cannot understand this because he is bewildered by the spell of material nature. It is therefore recommended in this verse that one engage very seriously in the devotional service of the Lord. This means that one should not think that he is a proprietor, benefactor, friend, or enjoyer. He should always be cognizant that the real enjoyer is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the basic principle of Bhakti Yoga. One must be firmly convinced of these three principles. One should think Krishna is a proprietor, Krishna is the enjoyer, and Krishna is the friend. So we should always remember that. And if we want to be somebody's friend, we want to be proprietor, we want to be enjoyer, it should be done through Krishna, because he is the main, he's the center. Not only should he understand these principles himself, but he should try to convince others and propagate Krishna consciousness. And this should be our focus. And we do tend to forget. I know for one, I forget that should be our focus. As soon as one engages in such serious devotional service of the Lord, naturally the propensity to falsely claim lordship over material nature disappears. So Sri Prabhupada explains that is the way to get detached from material nature. That detachment is called vairagya. Instead of being absorbed in so-called material lordship, one engages in Krishna consciousness. That is control of Krishna, of consciousness. There are many such instances. Unless one's mind and consciousness are fully engaged in devotional service, there is always the opportunity for the mind to become occupied with desires for sense gratification. So we have to keep ourselves busy, always be in service of the Lord. The mind is always attracted by asat, So we're more likely to be attracted, it's automatically attracted to asat, the temporary material existence, because that is instant gratification. Because we have been associated with material nature since time immemorial, we have become accustomed to attachment to this temporary material nature. This is why it's automatic, because we become conditioned. We have so many lives we have been associating with this. The mind has to be fixed at the eternal lotus feet to the Supreme Lord. That is the solution. Savai mana Krishna pad aravindo. One has to fix his mind at the lotus feet of Krishna, that everything will be everything will be very nice. So then finally, Lord Kapil explains, one has to become faithful by practicing the controlling process of the yoga system, and one must elevate himself to the platform of unalloyed devotional service by chanting and hearing about me. So the practice of yoga by physical exercise is not the ultimate goal. The real end is to concentrate and to control the mind and train oneself to be situated in faithful devotional service. One should be absorbed in the thought of love of Krishna. So we should be sincere in our service. When one knows that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the source of everything, and that everything emanates from him, aham sarvasya parva, then one understands the Vedanta aphorism, Janmadi asya yatha, that is the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. The original source of everything is the Lord, and then he can become absorbed in bhav, or the preliminary stage of love of God. So Rupa Goswami explains very nicely in Bhakti Ras Amrita Sindhu how this bhav, or preliminary stage of love of God, is achieved. He states that one first of all has to become faithful, Shraddha Yan Vita. Faith is attained by controlling the senses, either by yoga practice, following the rules and regulations, while practicing the sitting postures, or alternatively that we do by engaging directly in Bhakti Yoga, of the 9 different items of Bhakti Yoga. That is for us in the Kali Yuga. The first and foremost is to chant and hear about the Lord. There is no success unless one becomes fully to the direct process of hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, unless one is completely faithful to the Supreme Person of Godhead and engages himself in the process of hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, there is no possibility of liberation. So it explains here what we got to do for ourselves, and then we go also have to explain to the other people what they need to do similarly, so they can get success, they can get liberation from this cycle of birth and death. So Srila Prabhupada has included, so we know about being proprietor, being enjoyer, being the controller, but he has also introduced the fact that when we are helping people, we think, oh, we are, the friend of society. When these people are doing big work to help people, they think, oh, we are so friends to the, to human society. But Srila Prabhupada was saying that that is just our sense gratification we're doing it for, because it makes us feel good about ourselves, that look, how much we are able to help. But that makes us proud. This is the problem. That makes us proud that how great we are, how we have helped so many millions of people, just makes us proud. And by that process, even if you do get pious points, your destination is only far as Svarglok. And once those pious points run out, you come back again, restart all over again. So what is the point? We're looking for a permanent solution, not a temporary solution. So that is the way. Thank you all so much for joining. Welcome back, Rukmani Mataji. Hope you're feeling much better. Jai Prabhu, Partha Prabhu, thank you so much. Praveen Mataji, Hare Krishna, Prem Prakash Prabhu, thank you. And Sarveshri Mataji, thank you for joining. And we want to start with Rukmani Mataji. Rukmani Mataji, please give some input on this. What do you think about what Prabhupada is saying, what Kapil Muni is saying? Anything that you find interesting? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
I'm back. Yes, now I'm completely fine.
Good, good.
Yes, this is very important for our human beings and the transcendental knowledge. But unfortunately, today's world, in college, in schools, in societies, there is no facility of giving the knowledge of transcendental, and there should be a subject of religion, whatever religion. But Krishna is the for the whole world. We everybody has their own religion, but the main source is Krishna only all over the universe. So people should understand that we are Muslim, we are Indian, and we are something else. But the people should know that only personality of Godhead is the supreme Lord. So people doesn't get confused, and there are so many religion according to their caste. So that's why all these problems, so many problems are created. But if we chant Hare Krishna, and Prabhupada said so many times, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. There is no caste, personality, caste, prejudice. Only Krishna is the Lord of the universe. And universe means not these countries or some other place. Only universal Krishna is Lord Krishna is our God. Only that one thing goes in our mind. There won't be um, any problem, any prejudice, any unhappiness. We will be happiest person on the earth. Is it right, Prabhuji?
Absolutely, Mataji. Absolutely. Yes, that is the way. And like you said, this that is not so common. And people are there's like millions of charities and so many people doing big work for society, but that doesn't go far enough. This is a problem. It does not go far enough of saving human. We think we are saving people, but we're not really saving people. We're not saving humanity. We're just saving them on it's like a snapshot for a very small period on a very small journey. We want to save people for eternity. That is what Prabhupada is trying to say. We don't just save the dress of the drowning man, save the man as well. We're just trying to save that body, but what about his next journey and his next journey and his next journey? What happens to the person then? Will you be able to save them in the next journey? No. So save them so you can save them for good, not for just this journey. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Haribol.
Okay, Jai Prabhu is listening only. Partha Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Right.
Yeah. Recently I just started doing the Bhakti Shastri, so I felt like your class is giving me an overview of Ishopanishad and nectar of instruction. So, I mean, you spoke about Ishavasha principle. It is like, I mean, Srila Prabhupada says that any kind of isms like nationalism, altruism, socialism, you can engage in all those activities, provided you keep Krishna in the center. And one can think of extend his life in this material world, provided he is under the instructions of the Lord, he is under the complete guidance of the Lord, then he can do that. And you also mentioned about the material nature. And in Ishopanishad text, it is written that if one is thinking that he don't have enough time to do devotional service because he is engaged in his job whole time, but material nature is so strong that if one is not coming to that level, then it will force them to do that by making them lose their job as well. So everybody is under the control of material nature here, and material nature is already under the control of Lord Krishna. So that's all, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you. Yeah, I was going to mention that actually, and you've explained very nicely that so it's not that we don't help society, that we totally ignore people's troubles. We help them, but we also give them Krishna as well. And this is what they're doing in Mayapur, in Vrindavan, in India, and hopefully, everyone here. Well, like we give food for life, and like in London, food for life, food for all is done a big way. But we're giving them prasad, and we also help charities when they need help. But we do everything in a Krishna conscious way. So we don't just give them help, we also give them Krishna. So we're not just saving the dress of the man, we're saving the man as well. It's like Prabhupada says. Don't forget, save the body, help the body, but don't forget to help the soul. And this is where the other charities and other organizations lack. They only help the body, they're not helping the soul. Because by helping the soul, and not just the body, then we won't get proud that I'm helping. You're saying, look, this is all about Krishna. Krishna will help you not only with the body, with the soul as well. Give them Krishna, so they know that it's not you helping, it's the Lord. You are his instrument to help them. So you don't get popped up.
Yeah, sorry. One of the disciples of Sri Radhana Swami Maharaj mentioned that whenever Radha Swami Maharaj goes out in Mumbai, he always carry buns with him. And he knows that in India, the beggars will come to the car. So he always makes sure that he carry buns and distribute them. And that's I felt like that is the easiest way to spread the mercy through prasad. That's very nice.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's right. So you give them Krishna and you give them prasad or food that they need. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yeah. Okay. Prem Prakash Prabhu is just going to listening only. I don't know if Praveen Mataji is able to speak. Hare Krishna. Okay. And okay, we'll go to Sureshya Mataji. Hare Krishna. Sureshya Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Everything has been mentioned very nicely about the material nature.
Yeah.
And whatever we see exist in this world, it's made of three energies of Krishna, that is internal, external, and marginal energies. And we, the living entity, are marginal energy of Krishna. Either we can go up or we can come down. But we are conditioned. When we are born, are the three modes of material nature. As soon as we are born, we act like that. If you are Brahmana, you're gonna act like Brahman. If Kshatriya, you're gonna act like Kshatriya. If you're born in an animal kingdom, then like a dog, then you will conditioned. Krishna makes you conditioned, then you act like a dog. And we know this material body is made out of 5 gross elements: earth, water, fire, ether, and air. So whether we can use this material body to Krishna, do our activities for Krishna, or we can do Maya, that's our choice. That's how we are marginal energies. And this material nature is not eternal. Like it keep on changing. Like we are born and then we grow and then we get old and die. And that is what material is. It's not eternal, it's temporary. And the material activities and desires are temporary, or it's Maya. And the spiritual activities and desires are called bhakti. If you use your senses, material senses, you can use it, make it spiritual, and then it's called bhakti. When we leave our body, we leave our material activities. Whatever you've done in this life with material, you leave behind. You don't take anything with you. What you take only Krishna's bhakti with you. That's the only thing, because people have money, everything in the bank. You can't take anything, but bhakti, you can take it with you. And nothing belongs to us, but people forget that time of our day and night. They work hard when they put the money in the bank. They forget that Krishna is the proprietor and enjoyer of everything. He says in Bhagavad-Gita as well. And because of our false ego, mine and yours, people fight with each other, nation fight with nation, that I think it belongs to me, I'm gonna take your country, it belongs to me. It's all false ego. And in one day, they're gonna die and everything. And that's the Mother Earth, sometimes she laughs, she said, these people are fighting, they think that they're gonna be here forever, but they're all gonna disappear from this world. And my thing is satisfaction. We should be satisfied what we've got, because without satisfaction, we cannot have peace. Because every time you say, I want this, I want this, I want this, so you have no peace of mind. And this material nature, it says in Bhagavad Gita, everybody should be unattracted of sense gratification. That's the minor root cause of all this repeated birth and death, sense gratification and material activities, and then take shelter of Krishna. Krishna says, Man manamad bhakto madhyaji mame karo. But only few people listen to his instruction. He says, and then he says, Dharman Patej. He tells people to do, but because we've got material nature, we connected with material, it is hard. But it becomes easy when you listen to Krishna and use our mind and senses into Krishna. That is called Krishna conscious and devotional service. Because we must remember Krishna is enjoyer. He says, Bhaktam Estaptavyok Maheshwaram. But people think they are enjoyer. They want to enjoy, and that's what is suffering. And that's what is material nature makes people do that. It's very, very hard, because in this world, like if you are in a well, you don't know about the outside thing, you know only what is in the world. So we are people in this tiny in this planet Earth. They don't know anything. And if sometimes they don't want to know, because the material nature is like that. When mostly passion, mostly people are for passion and ignorance, it's mixed together. So that's why we will let like that. But if we follow Bhagavad-Gita, we follow Bhagavatam, we can advance in spiritual life and get out of this material world, which is full of miseries. Krishna says, "Ish ashvasatam dukkhalaya," it's temporary and full of miseries. That is material nature, my peace. So that's it. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you so much, Mataji. Absolutely right. And there are a lot of people so attached to material gratification. It's very difficult for them to get out of this material gratification. Even when you try to give them Krishna consciousness, they feel threatened that they will lose that. And they sometimes they understand that the gratification will be lost. They become detached. That they don't want to lose it. They're comfortable in that position. They don't want to change it. So I guess this is where Krishna's mercy comes in. When they're ready, Krishna gives the mercy that they surrender their gratification to Krishna. So when we are surrendering to Krishna, we are surrendering everything. It's our body, speech, and mind. We surrender everything. Mind is about gratification. Surrender your mind to Krishna, surrender that gratification, and then the learning begins. And before that, you're just resisting. If your family member who's Krishna conscious is trying to tell you something, is trying to help you, you don't want the help. You think, what's this person doing? He's going crazy. Now he wants me to go crazy as well. I'm happy where I am. Why should I change? But when you see the reality, because you're living in an illusion, you think I'm very comfortable in my position. when you see the reality through Krishna's mercy that, hang on, it's not as great as I thought, very temporary, and one problem leads to another problem, and this material world whole is it's a mess, and this is not where we belong, because we're not material anyway. So why are we even here? We need to get out of here. It's a very dangerous place. We don't know what's going to happen in the next moment. We don't know what's going to happen in our next life. But how will we, what species we will be? It's a very, very dangerous place. When you start thinking like that, then you start taking notice. Yes, I have to make some preparations. It's very important. So that's good. Thank you all so much for your input. We're ready to do some serious chanting now, because it says here, very important, we do chanting and hearing, and then we help others with that spiritual strength. Go and help others do the same. So Sarveshi Mataji, we'd like to make a start, and we'll have Ruki Mataji, if she's okay to do second.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vasaya Bhutale